Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a drama, fantasy, horror film called The Endless. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A mysterious package arrives at the home of brothers Justin and Aaron. Inside the box is a videotape from Camp Arcadia, a group they joined when they were kids. 10 years ago, Justin pulled himself and his brother out of the supposed UFO death cult after learning the group's plans to kill themselves. But Aaron recalls the camp differently, having only fond memories of food and support. Comparing their current poor life, Aaron is convinced that their lives back at the camp were better. At therapy, Justin shares his worry for his brother. He admits that he was relieved that the people at the cult are still alive but feels guilty for taking his brother away from them, should they be as good as Aaron remembered. Despite that, Justin adamantly believes being free in the real world is better. On the other hand, Aaron expresses his frustration over Justin's controlling attitude during his therapy session. However, Aaron doesn't want to talk to Justin about it, sparing him from getting hurt. Upon Aaron's insistence on getting some closure, Justin finally relents and agrees to go back to the camp for one day. While they're driving to the camp, Justin lists down all the things they did that identify the group as a cult, all of which Aaron doesn't remember. Hearing this, Aaron questions why Justin even agreed to return if he thinks badly about the cult. The brothers stop at a field where their mother had died. Aaron notices a painting, but Justin recalls that it's the painting they made as kids. Justin looks down the road, noticing that the opposite paths are alike. When he turns back, one of the paths changed. They continue their journey, spotting an angry man. Finally, they reach Camp Arcadia, where they receive a warm welcome from Hal. The brothers have lunch with Hal and meet old camp friends Tim, Anna, and Shane. Joining them is a newcomer, Lizzie, who wandered to the camp after leaving a mental health facility. Across the room is Dave, who stares at the brothers with a big smile. Heading to their quarters, Justin points out how everyone at camp looks the same as when they left, which Aaron believes is because the camp provides a healthier lifestyle. On their bed, Justin finds a post-it asking them to be quiet. Justin heads out, jogging around camp while checking the place out. As he explores the camp, he finds people practicing archery, Hal loading up a truck with kegs of homebrewed beer, and the same angry man marching down the path, who doesn't seem to notice him. That evening, the camp gathers around the bonfire. Noticing Justin's detachment from the others, Hal invites him to his cabin to taste his brew of liquor. Justin looks around the cabin, finding an unfinished equation, which Hal coyly refuses to say what it's for. Changing the topic, Hal assures Justin that they've forgiven him for leaving and talking to the press about their group, though he wonders why they returned. Justin's confused, recalling the videotape they received from the camp. But Hal claims not knowing about the video. Aaron chats with Anna at the bonfire and follows her to her cabin, showing him her fashion designs. Anna recounts Aaron's fishing hobby when they used to live here, giving him an idea. Outside, Shane invites Justin to see a card trick. Shane chooses Justin's card from the deck, but Justin lies and says he's wrong. Shane insists on showing him another magic trick, throwing an old baseball into the air, which doesn't fall back. Shane grabs Justin's hand and positions it, letting Justin catch the ball. Later, Hal gathers everyone to start the traditional game, the struggle. It's a tug-of-war game with an invisible opponent, symbolizing their struggle for passion, growth, and a higher power. As Hal pulls on the rope, the other end suddenly raises to the sky. Justin assumes that it's just Dave on a ladder in the darkness. The crowd cheers for Aaron to play next, where he fails almost instantly. However, he doesn't give up. Aaron ties the rope around his torso on his second try, letting him use his weight to pull. He growls as he speeds forward, pulling the rope successfully until it drops. The crowd applauds him. Justin hesitates on participating until Aaron talks him into it. Justin prepares himself to pull, but the rope whips forward, causing him to fall with a gash on his hand. The crowd is silent, with Dave smiling behind them, clearly not the one who pulled the rope. Later, Lizzie tends to Justin's wound, sharing how she used to do the same for a gun enthusiast who lives in the woods. Hal checks on Justin, apologizing for what happened. With the two staring at him expectantly, Justin leaves. As they walk back to their cabin, Aaron insists on staying for another day, interested in shooting some guns for target practice tomorrow. Justin is not interested at first but eventually agrees. They spot Tim smoking by a locked cabin. Tim claims that there's only rowing equipment inside, which the brothers don't believe. On their cabin door is another post-it saying, "Please, be quiet," which they remove. Unable to sleep, Justin brings up Aaron and Anna's relationship. He remembers Anna watching Aaron intently, even when they were little. Aaron wonders if it's because they were meant to be together, but Justin is suspicious. On the next day, Justin and Aaron practice with the guns, but Justin oddly misses, having his bullet fall near them. The bullet is dented on the head as if it hit something hard. Later on, the brothers fish in the lake before Justin jogs by himself. He sees the strange man marching down the path again, but he disappears, leaving a single shoe with a drop of blood behind. Justin carries on until he finds a storage container in the field that suddenly moves. A gust of wind blasts, and for a second, the sky darkens. Justin looks down and sees Polaroids scattered before him. He picks one up, confused at what's going on. A tree from behind him falls, making him jump. Scared, Justin turns back and leaves. Meanwhile, in an old tent, a recorder plays a song repeatedly. Someone inside runs and grunts over and over. An antique clock hangs outside the tent. Its seconds hand keeps going back 3 seconds. That night, Lizzie sings for everyone at karaoke night. Behind Justin, another post-it asking for people to be quiet is on the board. Justin pulls Hal away from the party, showing him the Polaroid of a buoy in the lake that he picked up earlier. Justin feels as though something invisible was watching him, much like when he was a kid. He disregarded this as imaginary, but now that he's experienced them again, he wants answers. In the sky, they find 2 moons, which Hal describes as a sign of truth, while a third moon will signify the ascension. Hal advises Justin to take Aaron to the buoy in the Polaroid tomorrow and find their answers there. No matter what he believes in or what he finds there, it would be a weight off Justin's shoulders. The night continues with Aaron singing for the crowd and getting recreational substances from Anna. Justin finds Lizzie sketching the gun-armed man from her stories, with his house on fire. Justin moves on, seeing a girl crying alone. Meanwhile, Anna takes Aaron away, showing him a mirror-like phenomenon that reflects the landscape before them. Aaron brings up the video they received from camp, but Anna denies sending it to them. She swears she wouldn't have sent a video outside of camp, especially not one that Justin would find. When Aaron asks what she means, she changes the topic, not wanting to ruin the mood. Back at the camp, Justin approaches the woman, Jennifer, who's crying because she can't sleep while everyone is partying. She'd been leaving notes that ask people to be quiet, but no one listens to her. Jennifer isn't part of the group but is there because her husband disappeared near the camp. For days, she tried looking for her husband until Hal found and brought her to camp. Tears wet her eyes as she contemplates how long she'd been looking, separated from her son, who's with her parents. The next day, Justin takes Aaron fishing, as Hal suggested. Despite the strange things they've seen in camp, Aaron wants to stay permanently. Justin laments about leaving the world outside, bringing up Jennifer, who's miserable in the camp. As Aaron argues, Justin finds the buoy from the Polaroid floating on the lake. Justin dives into the lake to search for answers at the bottom, leaving Aaron alone. When he doesn't surface after a while, Aaron prepares to go after him. Justin appears behind him, dropping something on the boat behind him before climbing in. He stammers in fear, claiming that something is in the lake and ordering Aaron to row the boat back to the shore. Back on land, they open the metal box that Justin found on the bottom of the lake. The ominous tape inside convinces Justin to leave immediately. Aaron protests, but Justin insists on leaving, even if it's without him. Tired of the same argument, Aaron relents and asks to say goodbye to everyone before leaving. That evening, they have dinner with the group where Lizzie gives Justin a drawing of a shadowy beast in the woods. Hal insists on playing the tape that they found on the lake as a parting ceremony, explaining that it's how the entity that guards them communicates. The TV plays the video of a younger Justin and Aaron acting their culty version of Camp Arcadia to outsiders. Humiliated, the brothers leave, but Hal stops them, insisting that the message is meant to forgive the two for shaming the camp to the outside world. Aaron discovers that Justin's harsh stories about the camp were lies, angering him. But Justin explains that he lied because he knew something was wrong in the camp. Hal, however, suggests that Justin made up such stories because he was desperate to leave. Even as a child, Justin had been uncomfortable seeing no leader that controls the camp. He accuses Justin of wanting to be in control, which the latter denies. Driven to the edge, Hal accuses Justin of ruining the camp despite saving their lives from the car accident that killed their mother. Due to Justin and Aaron's stories, Hal and the others struggle to do business in the outside world when many people have seen their faces on the news, thinking that they're a crazed cult. Justin isn't swayed by his accusations, pointing out Jennifer, terrified and hanging on false hope of ever finding her husband. Justin insists on leaving, but his brother refuses. Pissed, Justin berates Hal, who tells him to make it easier for everyone and leave by himself. Defeated, Justin walks away, leaving his brother behind. Justin heads to his car, but it doesn't start. He takes his chances and walks on foot but finds strange rocky markers blocking his way. He turns back and finds a snake on the ground. But it disappears as soon as he steps away. Behind him, there's a cabin that he didn't notice earlier. He spots a man entering the cabin and follows him to ask for help. But when he opens the door, the man has hung himself inside. Suddenly, another man yells at him from behind. Justin tumbles down, seeing that the man looks exactly like the one hanging in the room. The other man, Carl, ignores the body and scolds Justin for being there. Carl sets down chairs in front of the shack and jokes about Justin returning to the death cult. Justin is confused, wondering how he got lost and how the same man who's been hung in the shack is talking to him now. Carl chuckles, explaining that the place is stuck in a time loop that repeats tragic events repeatedly to appease the entity residing there. People stuck in the loop have to kill themselves to reset the time, otherwise, the entity will kill them more viciously. Carl tells Justin that if he wants to leave, he has to do it before the loop resets, or else he'll be stuck there like the others. But Justin wants to get Aaron back first. Carl offers to help, showing Justin that when someone stuck in the loop passes beyond the markers, they are looped back inside. But Justin can still pass them. So the man asks him to get him a gun from Chris, who's also stuck in another loop. Carl gives Justin a compass, telling him to trust it and not what he sees. Before Justin leaves, Carl laments about being trapped even in his mind. The entity doesn't let him sleep or dream, so all he knows is the world inside his loop. In the morning, Aaron wakes up and finds a flock of birds creating a circular shape in the air. The birds drop Polaroids in front of him. Aaron picks them up and sees one photo of a trailer and himself. He gives the photos to Hal, who theorizes that the entity that guards them shows them what it sees, leading Aaron to think it was watching him. Hal suggests heading to the trailer in the photo, but Aaron is concerned about Justin. Leaving the choice to him, Hal tells him to follow a trail, warning him that he has to find Justin before the third moon is full. Aaron follows the trail as Hal suggested. He passes beyond one of the loop markers, then looks back. Anna walks into the same path on the opposite side, but neither can see the other. At Chris's house, Justin meets Chris and Mike. Mike has Chris handcuffed inside to help him get through addiction, reminding Justin of the gun enthusiast that Lizzie talked about. Mike returns with a hard drive that contains another message from the entity. He plays the video on his computer, seeing another version of Mike and Chris, who get killed after trying to escape the loop. The entity is telling them that their plans will not work. Chris advises Justin to escape the loop, no matter what horrible thing the entity shows him. On the other side, Aaron sees the old tent with the clock on the front. Hearing the music and the screams, he looks inside and sees a man that keeps getting up from his seat, killed, then comes back to where he started. The man sees him, saying that he cannot help and he should leave. When Aaron doesn't move, the man runs towards him then explodes into a bloody mess, scaring Aaron away. Mike lets Justin take guns from the basement back in Chris's house, sharing how he still wants to escape the loop. He mentions his wife and baby, leading Justin to realize that he's Jennifer's husband. He contemplates telling him where she is, but seeing that they won't meet while stuck in their different loops, he leaves. After Justin is gone, Mike douses the house with gasoline and lights it on fire. Justin checks his bag, realizing that he left the map that Carl drew for him in the house. But Chris's house is already in flames, the map burning along with it. In a blink of an eye, the house resets with Chris sitting on the porch. Mike arrives at the house as if nothing happened. With the third moon nearly full, Justin makes his way back to Carl's house, using the compass as his guide. He finds a trailer with a cougar nearby. The cougar snarls at him but leaves. Aaron suddenly appears, entering a loop around the trailer. The brothers check the trailer with a note left behind by the owner. Thinking that no one's home, the two leave. As soon as they do, a projector plays, showing the brothers leaving the trailer. The projector suddenly flings into the air, over the many contained loops in the area. As the sun goes down, Aaron and Justin find numerous statues while the camp gathers around for a feast. The brothers reach Carl's cabin at nightfall, leaving the gun and taking the map back to Camp Arcadia. Here, Aaron decides that he still wants to stay, despite the idea of being stuck in the time loop forever. He's tired of struggling with life in the outside world that he'd take dying for a few seconds on each reset as long as he's content with life when he's alive. Despite the idea that he can never leave, Aaron prefers it rather than struggling with Justin again. Once they leave, Carl clambers out of his cabin and takes the gun. He shoots it into the abyss first before shooting himself on the head. Even when he does this, his loop resets. Returning to camp, they spot Jennifer leaving on a bicycle and Tim unlocking the cabin that he's been guarding. Inside, they find countless tapes and records and a TV set at the center. The TV switches on, showing them their experiences in camp through the entity's point of view. Then, it shows the camp gathered around the bonfire that evening, where it drops a rope in the middle of the group. Frightened, Aaron runs to the bonfire, but he's too late. The place is a wreck, with the clothes of the group left behind. Justin reminds him that they'll be back once the time resets. The brothers sit down, waiting. Justin decides to stay, not wanting to leave his brother behind. With Justin finally respecting his decision, Aaron chooses to leave. Suddenly, the camp begins to reset. The brothers run to their car, but it doesn't start. Instead, they push it downhill, with Justin giving Aaron instructions on what to do. Aaron takes the wheel, tired of letting Justin control their lives. The brothers finally reconcile their differences, promising to treat each other as equals if they make it through this night. They hop into the car as it speeds downhill, passing through markers before the reset reaches them. In daylight, the car appears out of nowhere. The brothers escaped, leaving Camp Arcadia and everyone in it behind. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.